The city of Orvana was made of steel, smoke, and endless noise. Ships hovered between tall towers, and lights blinked like false stars in the fog. It was a world of wealth and technology, but only for those born under bright skies. Far below the towers, in the dark and dirty streets, a small figure moved quietly through the rain. Her name was Lyra. She was blind, born without sight, but her other senses were sharp as blades. Every drop of water, every echo of footsteps, every faint vibration in the air told her stories that others never heard. Her world was sound, touch, and smell. And in that silent world, she survived. Each night she walked to the trash fields of District 12. The ground there was soft with rotting plastic and broken wires. She searched for anything she could sell or trade: metal pieces, old chips, half-dead batteries. The city's rich people threw away more than she could ever dream of owning. But tonight the wind was cold. Her small hands were numb, her feet bare, and her stomach empty. Still she kept moving. Her ears caught the rustle of rats, the drip of water, and far away, the faint hum of sky engines. Maybe I'll find something this time, she whispered to herself. Her voice was quiet, soft like a prayer. She bent down and touched something wet, just a broken can. She sighed and moved on. Then her fingers brushed against something different, smooth, round, and warm. It pulsed faintly like a living heart. She froze. "What is this?" she murmured. The small object suddenly gave a soft beep, then another. It felt alive, glowing faintly in her hands. Lyra's heart raced. She pressed it against her chest, afraid someone might see her. To others it might be trash. But to her, it felt like treasure. The next morning, when the storm clouds cleared, Lyra went to the market. The air smelled of smoke and metal. Traders shouted. Robots moved heavy crates, and people pushed past her like she was invisible. She clutched the small object in her hand, hoping someone would give her food for it. "Hey, kid," one alien merchant laughed. "That thing. Worthless junk. You think someone will buy that broken tracker?" Lyra stayed quiet. She turned to leave, but a new voice spoke behind her. It was calm, deep, and gentle. "Where did you get that?" She turned her head toward the sound. The voice belonged to a human man, tall and quiet, wearing a gray coat. His voice didn't sound cruel or mocking. It sounded kind. "I found it," she said, "in the trash. It hums sometimes." He crouched down to her level. "Do you know what you're holding?" She shook her head. "No, but it feels warm." He smiled faintly. "That's not trash, little one. That's old Terran tech. You shouldn't even have it." Lyra frowned. "Terran tech?" "Human-made technology," he said softly. "It's rare. Some people would kill for it." Lyra's hands tightened around the small object. "It's mine," she said, her voice trembling but firm. The man studied her face. He noticed her eyes, pale and hidden behind a thin blindfold. He noticed her torn clothes, her thin frame, her shaking hands. Yet despite her weakness, there was something powerful in her, a strange strength in the way she stood. He nodded slowly. "Then keep it. But you should know that little thing you found could change your life." She tilted her head. "Change my life? How?" He smiled again, almost sadly. "By making it very dangerous." Suddenly, a loud siren screamed across the district. The crowd scattered. 2 patrol drones flew overhead, scanning with bright red lights. The man's expression hardened. "They're searching for it," he whispered. Lyra clutched the device tighter. "Who?" "The Syndicate," he said quickly. "They control this city. And if they find you with that tech," he didn't finish. He grabbed her hand. "Come with me." Lyra didn't know why she trusted him. Maybe because no one had ever held her hand before. His grip was firm but gentle, guiding her through narrow alleys. She followed the sound of his boots, the beat of her own heart, and the soft hum of the glowing object in her hands. Behind them, the sirens grew louder. The drones were closing in. "Why are they chasing us?" she cried. "Because you found something they want," he said. "Something powerful. But I don't even know what it is." He looked back at her. "You will soon." They stopped under an old bridge. Rain dripped through the cracks, and the man finally let go of her hand. "My name's Ethan," he said. "Lyra," she replied softly. He smiled. "You're brave, Lyra. Not many would stand up to Syndicate drones." "I didn't mean to," she said. "I just wanted food." Ethan looked at her for a long time. "You wanted food, and you found the key to something much bigger." He gently touched the glowing object in her hand. This isn't just a machine. It's part of something ancient, something that once belonged to humanity's lost fleet. Lyra tilted her head. Fleet? Armada, he whispered. If what I think is true, then this trash might just call them back. Her breath caught. Call who back? He met her blank eyes and said quietly, An entire army. The night had grown quiet after the storm. Beneath the old bridge, the air was cold, and the only sound was the steady dripping of water. Lyra sat close to the human named Ethan, clutching the small glowing device to her chest. She didn't understand him. He spoke gently, but his words carried danger. That thing, he had said, can call an army. But why would anyone make something so powerful and throw it away? Ethan crouched near the edge of the bridge, scanning the skyline. Red searchlights from patrol drones moved across the streets like hunting eyes. His jaw was tight. He knew the syndicate wouldn't stop until they found them. Are they still looking for us? Lyra whispered. Yes, Ethan said softly. But we'll be safe for a little while. Lyra tilted her head toward his voice. You could leave me. Take this thing and go. Why are you helping me? He turned to look at her. Because, he said after a moment, you remind me of someone I once knew. Someone who couldn't see, but saw the world better than anyone. Lyra lowered her head. I don't see anything. I only feel things. Hear things. People think that's useless, Ethan smiled faintly. Then those people are blind, not you, she didn't reply. But her heart felt strange, warm and heavy at the same time. As dawn crept over the city, Ethan built a small fire under the bridge using scraps of dried paper and metal chips. The orange light flickered against the damp walls, painting Lyra's pale face in soft glow. She could not see it, but she felt its warmth and listened to its gentle crackle. Ethan opened a ration pack and handed her half. Eat, he said. She hesitated. Why are you giving me food? Because you're hungry, he replied simply. Her hand shook as she took it. No one ever gives me food unless they want something. I don't want anything from you, Lyra, Ethan said quietly. I just want to help. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she asked softly, Where are you from? Earth, he said. A long way from here. Earth, she whispered, tasting the word. I heard it was gone, he smiled sadly. Not gone, just forgotten. When she finished eating, Ethan reached for the glowing device. May I? Lyra hesitated, then handed it to him. Be careful. It hums when it's scared, she said, half joking. Ethan chuckled. Then it's a lot like you. He pressed a few buttons on its surface. The hum grew louder and faint blue light spilled across the wall. Strange symbols danced in the air. Human letters mixed with alien code. It's a beacon, Ethan murmured. A distress call. But the signal is old, centuries old, Lyra frowned. What does it say? He translated slowly. Unit 47. Last coordinates of Terran fleet lost in deep orbit. Awaiting retrieval. Retrieval? She repeated. It's calling out, he said. And someone, or something Don might still be listening. The idea made her shiver. If they come. Will they help us? Ethan looked out toward the city skyline. That depends on who hears the call first, the fleet or the syndicate. Suddenly a faint buzzing filled the air. Ethan turned sharply, his instincts flaring. Drones, he hissed. They've tracked the signal. He grabbed the device and stuffed it inside his coat. We have to move, now. Lyra stood quickly, but she stumbled. Her foot hit a piece of scrap metal and she nearly fell. Ethan caught her before she hit the ground. His hand was strong, steady. Easy, he said softly. Stay close to me. I can't see, she whispered. I'll slow you down. He bent closer, his voice calm and certain. Then listen. Every sound will be your eyes. The echo of my steps, the wind on your face, the hum of the street. Trust it. Trust yourself, she nodded shakily. Okay. They moved through the shadowed alleys, Ethan guiding her voice by voice. Left, careful, there's a pipe. Step over it. Now down the slope. Lyra followed every sound, every breath he made. The world became sharper. The hiss of air vents, the whir of engines, the thump of her own heartbeat. She began to feel the city instead of seeing it. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of her blindness. After a long run, they reached a quiet junkyard near the city's edge. Rusted ships lay scattered like sleeping beasts. Ethan pulled Lyra behind the remains of an old cargo hauler. He placed the device on the ground. We'll hide it here for now, he said. Lyra knelt beside him. You really think it's calling someone? I know it is, Ethan said. And when they come, the Syndicate won't control this world anymore. She tilted her head toward him. And what if they don't come? He smiled faintly. Then I'll find another way. I always do. The wind howled across the junkyard, carrying the faint scent of rain and burnt metal. Lyra turned her face toward the sound. You said I remind you of someone, she said softly. Who was she? Ethan's eyes darkened. My sister, he said quietly. She was blind too. She died in the First Syndicate War. They said she couldn't fight because she couldn't see. But she saved more people than anyone I knew. Lyra reached out slowly, touching his hand. She sounds brave. She was, he said, his voice trembling. And so are you. A sudden pulse of light came from the beacon. I'm stronger this time. The metal under their feet vibrated. Ethan looked down at it in disbelief. It's responding, he whispered. Someone heard the signal. Lyra's lips parted in awe. Who? From far above, deep in the endless gray sky, a low rumble echoed like distant thunder. The air trembled. Ethan looked up and said one word. Ships. The wind was sharp that morning. Dust flew across the junkyard like tiny knives, cutting through silence. Lyra stood beside Ethan, her head tilted upward. She couldn't see what he saw, the sky, the clouds, the dark shapes moving far above, but she felt it. The air was different now. Heavier. Electric. Ethan's voice was low. They're here. Lyra clutched his arm. The Syndicate? He shook his head slowly. No, these ships. They're not Syndicate. And they're not from this world. High above them, breaking through the clouds, came long silver crafts with blue lights glowing beneath. They moved slowly without sound, almost like shadows drifting across the sky. The beacon at Lyra's feet began to pulse brighter. Blue light danced along its surface in a smooth rhythm. Beep, beep, beep. Ethan knelt beside it. It's communicating. Answering a signal from the ships, Lyra whispered. Then it really worked? He nodded. It did. You woke something that's been sleeping for centuries, but they weren't the only ones watching the sky. Far across the city, in a Syndicate tower of glass and fire, a tall figure stood before a wall of holograms. His name was Commander Varn, a high-ranking officer with metal implants running through his skull and cold silver eyes. The beacon signal is confirmed. One drone reported. Origin District 12 Junkyard. Response, unknown ships entering lower orbit. Varn clenched his fists. Terran ships. I warned them this day would come. He turned sharply. Send the hunters. Capture the human and the girl. Bring the device. Kill anyone who gets in the way. Back at the junkyard, Ethan was packing quickly. We have to leave now. Once they track the signal, they'll come with everything they've got. Lyra touched the warm metal of the beacon. Can't we talk to the ships? Ethan looked at her. We might be able to, but only if we stay alive long enough. Suddenly, Lyra froze. Her ears twitched. She turned her head slowly, her voice low. I hear something. Humming, growing closer. Big engines, Ethan swore under his breath. They're here. In the distance, black Syndicate drones zipped through the air. Two long, spiked vehicles rumbled across the ground, kicking up dust as they raced toward the junkyard. He grabbed the beacon and shoved it into his bag. Lyra, stay close. I can hear your steps, she said, calm but focused. Go, I'll follow. They sprinted between old ships and rusted hulls. Behind them, gunfire cracked the air. Bright red beams slammed into the metal near their feet. Lyra ducked, but she didn't stop. She moved by sound alone. Ethan's breathing, the rhythm of their boots, the electric sizzle of danger. You're doing great, Ethan shouted. Just a little farther? I'm not scared. She shouted back, surprising herself. They dove into an old cargo ship's wreckage. Ethan slammed the hatch shut behind them and pulled a rusted panel over the door. They crouched in the dark, breathing hard. Outside, Syndicate soldiers shouted commands. Drones hovered. The beacon inside Ethan's bag glowed faintly, as if waiting. Ethan, Lyra whispered, what do they want with me? He looked at her. It's not just the beacon anymore. You're the one who woke it. That makes you important. Dangerous, they fear what you might become. But I'm just a blind girl, she whispered. He shook his head. No, you're not. You felt the signal before anyone. You made the dead tech come alive. You're connected to it. She turned her head toward him. Why me? Ethan paused. I don't know yet. But we'll find out. Together. Suddenly a soft voice filled the air. It wasn't Ethan's, it wasn't human. It came from the beacon, gentle, distant, yet clear. Terran Echo Unit 47. Identity confirmed. Biological signal matched. Reactivation complete. Protocol unlocking. Lyra's hands shook. It's talking to me. Ethan's eyes widened. It knows who you are, the voice continued. Partial Terran DNA detected. Initiate command link. Awaiting verbal response. Lyra swallowed hard. I don't understand. I'm not human. Ethan looked at her carefully. Are you sure? Her lips parted. She didn't know what to say. She had never known her parents. She was raised in the trash pits by scavengers. No one ever told her where she came from. The voice spoke again. Command bond detected. Confirm link with designation Lyra. Ethan nodded. Say yes. Lyra whispered. Yes. The beacon flashed brightly and a wave of blue light burst out from the wreckage, blasting through the walls and straight into the sky. It was a signal, a flare. A call. Far above, the silver ships turned. Engines roared. One ship descended, and massive, silent, beautiful. It hovered above the junkyard, casting a shadow over the Syndicate's forces. Inside the wreckage, Lyra felt something new. A voice inside her head. Not words, feelings. Warmth, curiosity, recognition. They know me, she said softly. Ethan stared in awe. They heard you. Outside, the Syndicate soldiers stopped shooting. Drones fell silent. The great ship opened a side hatch. A soft blue light poured out. A figure stepped forward, tall, cloaked in silver. Eyes glowing blue, it looked straight at Lyra, and then it knelt. The light from the ship was soft, not blinding. It wrapped around the junkyard like a gentle blanket. The wind stopped. Even the Syndicate soldiers, armed and ready, stood frozen. And in the middle of that light, the tall armored figure stayed on one knee, head bowed, facing the blind girl who had spent her life searching through trash. Lyra didn't move. She could feel the warmth of the ship, the pull of something deep and invisible. Her heart beat faster, not with fear, but something close to recognition. Why are they kneeling? She asked softly, her fingers clutching Ethan's coat. I don't know, Ethan whispered, but they're not here to fight us. The armored figure slowly stood. Its silver helmet opened with a hiss, revealing a face, human but older, marked with glowing veins and blue eyes that shimmered like starlight. I am Commander Halden of the Terran Echo Fleet, the man said, voice calm and deep. We came because she called us, Lyra blinked under her blindfold. Me? Halden nodded. Unit 47 carries the signature of our ancient command line. It should not respond to anyone. But it responded to you. Ethan stepped forward. She's not human. She was born here, or in the slums. She's blind. She's just a child. But Halden shook his head. She's not just anything. He walked forward slowly. Syndicate soldiers raised their weapons, but before they could fire, the ship behind him lit up. Rows of silver cannons glowed with deadly blue power. The Syndicate hesitated. Stand down, Halden said to them without turning, or be removed. They lowered their weapons. Halden turned back to Lyra. You are not fully alien. Inside your blood is something different. Something Terran. Lyra's voice was small. I never knew my family. Ethan stared at her. You said you were found in the trash when you were a baby. She nodded. I was always alone. Halden knelt again. You may be the last connection to the lost line of Terran Prime, a child born from two worlds. But I can't see, Lyra said, suddenly angry. What good is a half-blooded blind girl to an army? Halden's face softened. You saw what others ignored. You heard a call no one else could hear. Your blindness does not weaken you. It makes you different. It makes you perfect. Just then, a scream tore through the air. A Syndicate gunship broke formation and fired. Not at the ship, but directly at Lyra. Down! Ethan shouted. He pushed Lyra aside as the blast struck the ground near them. Smoke and fire erupted. Halden raised one hand. The air shimmered and a barrier of blue energy stopped the second blast in midair. Syndicate troops opened fire. The standoff was over. Ethan grabbed Lyra and ran toward the Terran ship. Move! He shouted. Halden's soldiers appeared from the shadows, armored, silent, fast. They moved like ghosts, surrounding the ship, returning fire with precise, controlled shots. Explosions rocked the junkyard. Lyra ran blindly, trusting Ethan's voice. the rhythm of his boots and the warm light guiding her. Inside the ship, everything was quiet. White walls, soft lights, and a low humming sound like a heartbeat. Lyra collapsed onto the floor, breathing hard. I thought I was going to die. You didn't, Ethan said, kneeling beside her. You survived again. Halden entered behind them, unharmed. She cannot stay on this world, he said. Not anymore. The Syndicate knows she exists. They'll never stop hunting her. Lyra's voice trembled. Where would I go? Halden looked at her with strange warmth. Home, she frowned. This is my home. The trash. The markets. Even the hunger. It's all I've ever known. Halden opened a small screen beside the wall. Images flickered. Stars, maps, old Terran cities lost in space, people who looked like her. This is where you came from, he said. Or at least where your blood comes from. You were the last spark of something powerful, something forgotten, but not lost. Ethan stood slowly. You'll take her with you? Yes, Halden replied. But we would also take you, human. You protected her. Risked everything. That earns our respect, Ethan's eyes widened. I'm not a soldier anymore. You don't have to be, Halden said. You just have to keep doing what you're already doing. Protect her. Lyra turned toward Ethan, her voice soft. You'll come with me? He didn't answer for a moment. Then he said, of course, always. Outside, the Syndicate forces were falling back. Their towers sent urgent messages into the void. But it was too late. The sky above Orvana changed as more Terran ships appeared. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. Silent. Watching. Listening. The Armada had returned, and they weren't answering to governments. They were answering to her. The silence inside the Terran ship was different. Not empty, not cold. It was alive. Every step Lyra took echoed softly on the smooth floors. The walls pulsed faintly with blue light, as if breathing. She couldn't see them, but she could feel them, like a heartbeat in the metal. Ethan walked beside her, silent. His eyes scanned every corridor. It had been years since he'd seen a ship like this, and even now it didn't feel real. Commander Halden led them down a long, curved hall. We're taking her to the Echo Core, he said. That's where the answers are. Lyra tilted her head. Answers to what? To who you are, Halden replied. And why the ship called you. They entered a large chamber filled with floating screens, dim blue lights, and soft humming. At the center stood a tall silver pillar, smooth, glowing, humming in sync with the device she once found in the trash. Lyra reached out, fingers brushing the surface. The moment she touched it, the pillar glowed brighter. Screens around her flickered to life. Ethan stepped back in shock as rows of ancient data flooded the air. Holograms of battles, maps of forgotten worlds, names and faces long erased from history. What is this? He breathed. Halden's voice was low. These are memories. Locked away for centuries. Until now. Lyra's blindfold fluttered as a gentle breeze moved through the chamber. The ship had opened something. A voice echoed through the room. Echo Core online. Bloodline confirmed. Welcome, designation Lyra 4X. She turned toward the sound. What does that mean? Halden's expression was unreadable. You're not just connected to Terran tech. You were coded into it. Your DNA holds key sequences used in pre-collapse command protocols. That means... Ethan finished the sentence for him. She's a direct descendant of someone important. Lyra's lips parted. But I lived in garbage. Halden shook his head. You were hidden. On purpose. Someone wanted to keep you alive. Far away from politics. From war. From power. One of the floating screens zoomed in, revealing a recorded image. A woman dressed in a dark blue Terran uniform, holding a baby wrapped in cloth. Lyra's breath caught. That's her, Halden said quietly. Your mother. Captain Kyle, Ethan frowned. I thought she died during the last orbit collapse. Halden nodded. She did, but not before leaving her child on Orvana. Lyra stepped closer to the image, trembling. She left me. She saved you, Halden said gently. The Empire was falling. The Syndicate was rising. If they found you, they would have used you as a weapon or erased you completely. So she chose the one place no one would look. The trash levels of a dying city. Lyra reached out toward the image, hand shaking. She looks strong. She was, Halden said. Just like you, suddenly alarms blared. A red light flashed across the chamber. Ethan spun around. What now? A mechanical voice echoed, warning. Unauthorized access. External breach detected. Intruders aboard. Halden's face turned hard. The Syndicate. They got inside. How? Ethan shouted. This ship's shields were up. They had inside help, Halden growled. They were planning this. They want her. Lyra clutched Ethan's arm. What do they want from me now? Control, he answered. You're the key to every Terran system still hidden. They'll use you to unlock it all. Weapons, ships, worlds. Halden opened a wall panel, revealing a narrow escape path. Go. Take her to the memory core vault. If anything happens, she must survive. The truth must survive. Ethan hesitated. What about you? I'll buy you time. Halden turned and ran toward the main corridor as the sound of boots and blasters echoed through the ship. Lyra and Ethan sprinted through the lower levels. The ship guided them, doors sliding open before them, lights blinking like a path. Finally, they reached a quiet chamber. Inside were dozens of sealed black cubes floating in zero gravity. Each cube held fragments of Terran history, locked behind DNA-encoded walls. One cube hovered toward Lyra. It stopped in front of her, scanning her presence. A soft click echoed. The cube opened. Inside was a small metal band and almost like a bracelet. Lyra picked it up. The moment she touched it, it latched softly onto her wrist. A bright light exploded around her. Ethan covered his eyes. When the light faded, Lyra was still standing, but now the air around her shimmered. Her skin glowed faintly. The blindfold fluttered as if caught in wind. Lyra, Ethan whispered. What just happened to you? I don't know, she said. But I feel... Awake, the ship's voice returned. Command interface activated. Memory unlocked. Images poured into Lyra's mind. Not just her mother's voice, but orders, codes, coordinates, and words she never learned but somehow understood. I can hear it, she said in awe. The Empire. What it was. What it wanted to become. Peace, unity, hope. Ethan stepped back. You're not just the key. You're the memory of everything they lost. Outside the vault, the battle raged. But inside, something far older was waking up. Something stronger than weapons. The past had found its voice again, and it had chosen Lyra to speak. The corridors shook as explosions echoed through the Terran ship. Sparks flew from the walls. Sirens screamed warnings in both human and alien languages. But in the heart of the ship, inside the memory vault, Lyra stood completely still. She didn't tremble. She didn't hide. The blindfold fluttered and her glowing wristband pulsed softly with light. I remember now, she whispered. Ethan looked at her, confused. What do you mean? She turned toward him slowly. The fleet, the fall. The truth about Terran Prime, I don't know how, but the ship gave me more than memories. It gave me clarity. Before Ethan could reply, the vault doors slammed open with a hiss. Halden stumbled in, wounded, his arm burnt, his armor cracked. We're out of time, he said breathlessly. The Syndicate. They brought it. Lyra stepped forward. What is it? Halden's face darkened. Their secret weapon. A living project. Something built from stolen Terran tech. And stolen Terran blood. Ethan's heart sank. No, you don't mean... Halden nodded grimly. They made another one. Another you, Lyra. But twisted. Controlled. In the main corridor of the ship, heavy Syndicate boots marched in sync. Soldiers stepped aside as a tall figure passed between them, covered in dark armor that pulsed with red energy. It was not machine. It was not fully alien. It was not fully human either. It was something in between. A girl, Lyra's size. Her shape. But her face was hidden behind a black helmet and her presence felt cold. Empty. Her name was Unit Red 11, and she had one command. Find Lyra. Eliminate resistance. Take control of the ship. Back in the vault, the walls flickered. Red lights blinked in the corners. She's on board, Halden said, and heading straight for this room. Lyra clenched her fists. She's like me? Ethan stepped forward. No, she's not you. You were born. She was built. Lyra tilted her head. So she's my shadow? You're opposite, Halden said. You remember peace. She was programmed for war. For a moment, the room fell silent. Then Lyra whispered, Then I'll face her. Ethan grabbed her arm. No, you can't fight someone like her. You don't have training. You don't even have— I don't need sight, she said calmly. I've never had it. But I've seen more than most people ever will. Halden looked at Ethan. She's right. She's the only one Red 11 might hesitate against. Ethan growled, frustrated. You're both insane. Maybe, Halden said, coughing up a bit of blood. But we're also out of choices. The door hissed again, and there she was. Unit Red 11 stood silently in the entry. Her armor glowed. Her helmet turned, scanning the room. Her voice was cold, robotic, but still female. Target Lyra 4X detected. Command transfer initiated. Surrender. Lyra stepped forward slowly. Her blindfold danced in the wind. I won't surrender, she said. Not to someone wearing my face. Red 11 tilted her head. I am not your face. I'm your upgrade. No, Lyra replied. You are their mistake. In a blink, Red 11 raised her hand and fired a red energy blast, but Lyra had already moved. She ducked, turned, and rolled behind a support beam. The ship's memory linked to her wristband guided her like instinct, showing her movement patterns. Timing escape routes, Ethan and Halden opened fire, but Red 11 moved like smoke, twisting, dodging, reflecting blasts. Don't try to beat her with force, Halden shouted. She's faster. Lyra closed her eyes tighter. She let the sounds fill her mind, the hum of Red 11's armor, the rhythm of her steps, the vibration of each blast. Then she spoke. You were made to copy me, but you're missing one thing. Red 11 paused. What? A soul. Lyra raised her hand and the wristband pulsed, sending a bright blue shockwave across the room. Red 11 staggered. Her systems blinked. For the first time she hesitated. Lyra stepped forward again. You hear them, don't you? The memories. They're trying to talk to you too. Red 11 trembled. I was not programmed for this. You were made to destroy. But deep inside there's something left, Lyra said. You can choose to stop. Red 11 raised her blaster again, hands shaking. Her voice cracked. I don't know how. Then Ethan stepped forward. Then let us show you. There was silence. For a long time, then slowly. Red 11 dropped her weapon. Her helmet hissed as it unlocked. The face beneath was pale, smooth, nearly identical to Lyra's, but her eyes were empty, glassy, confused. I don't even know who I am, she said. Lyra reached out and touched her hand. Then start here. With us? Suddenly, an explosion rocked the ship. Halden staggered. The Syndicate is retreating, but not before planting charges. Ethan shouted, We have to get to the escape pods now. Halden grabbed a nearby panel. Take her. Take both of them. You're their guide now, Ethan, Lyra screamed. Come with us. But Halden smiled. I already did my part. The rest is yours. The vault door closed as flames erupted behind them. As the escape pod shot into the sky, Lyra held tightly to Ethan on one side, and Red 11 on the other. She had escaped the trash, awakened a fleet, faced her own shadow. Now she was no longer just a blind girl. She was a symbol, a bridge between what was and what could be. The stars stretched endless around them, cold, silent, and watching. The escape pod floated toward the Terran fleet, leaving behind the burning wreck of the ship that had changed everything. Lyra sat between Ethan and Red 11, her hands shaking, her mind full. She had no sight. But now she had vision. The fleet had responded to her call. The past had given her its secrets. Her shadow, Red 11, had surrendered her weapon. And now, for the first time in her life, Lyra was not hiding, not running. She was leading. The pod docked with the Terran command cruiser, the largest ship in orbit, silent for centuries, now alive again. Rows of human and alien officers stood in silence as the door opened and Lyra stepped out. No one bowed this time. They stood as equals. An old woman stepped forward, draped in a silver-blue robe. Her eyes glowed softly. She was the fleet's last archivist, Keeper Mayan. You carry the voice of the past, she said. But what you do next will shape the future. Lyra said nothing. She only touched the wristband and the fleet's map flared to life in the air. A network of stars, systems, Syndicate outposts, Terran ruins. Ethan stepped beside her. They're all waiting, Lyra. The whole galaxy is watching. What now? She took a breath. We light the spark. A week passed. Word spread like fire. A blind girl had awakened the Terran fleet. A lost child had brought the Empire's memory back. A weapon, Red 11, had laid down her arms. Across fringe worlds, syndicate banners were torn down. Cities whispered her name. Not with fear, but hope. But with hope came fear. And in the shadows of the broken system, the last syndicate lord prepared his answer. His name was Varn Rule, the same man who had ordered Lyra hunted, who had stolen Terran DNA, who had twisted science into weapons. In a dark tower on planet Juno 6, he stood before a glowing table. His eyes were hollow, his body half machine. "They follow a child," he hissed. "A blind one," his general bowed. "She carries the key, my lord. The people believe she's chosen." Varn slammed his fist on the table. "Then we'll show them who chooses what lives or dies." He turned to the sky. "Prepare the final cannon." Back on the Terran command cruiser, Lyra stood in the strategy chamber with Ethan and Red 11. Halden was gone. But his message lived inside the ship. The Syndicate has one last weapon, a solar cannon buried in the rings of Juno 6. If fired, it can wipe out entire fleets. You must stop it, even if it means sacrificing everything. Lyra clenched her fists. "They fear us, because they know we won't kneel." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then let's remind them why." The fleet jumped to Juno 6. Ships burst from light. Fighters swarmed. Syndicate defenses fired. The stars lit up with war. Inside the lead command ship, Lyra gave her first order. Her voice was calm, steady. "Target the power source. Don't destroy them. Free them." Red 11, now wearing silver armor, nodded beside her. "Let me go in first. I know their mind. I'll distract them." Ethan protested, but Lyra shook her head. "She's not just a weapon anymore. She's a choice." Red 11 smiled faintly. "Let me make mine." While ships clashed in orbit, Red 11 landed on the surface and entered the heart of the Syndicate's last tower, alone. And when Varn Rule saw her, the weapon he once owned, now walking freely, he laughed. "You think you've changed," he said. "You are still mine." But Red 11 simply replied, "Not anymore." She detonated her core, not to kill but to collapse the cannon's power lines. She knew exactly where to strike. The explosion didn't destroy the city, it set it free. Back above, the Terran fleet watched the cannon shut down. Its energy vanished, its threat was gone, and the Syndicate's final tower burned without a single shot fired from the fleet. Lyra stood at the front window. Her voice was quiet. "They built weapons to silence people like me. But now their silence is over." Weeks passed, and the galaxy changed. Syndicate outposts surrendered. Peace talks began. People from broken worlds reached out not to Terran kings, but to Lyra, the blind girl who saw truth. The orphan who became a bridge. They didn't ask her to rule. They asked her to guide, and she did. One evening, Ethan found her on the balcony of the ship, listening to the hum of space. He smiled. "You were the spark they feared." She turned her head. "But I was never meant to burn everything, just to light the way." He stepped beside her. "So where do we go now?" Lyra smiled. "Wherever people need to believe that trash can be treasure. That silence can speak. That even someone who sees nothing can change everything." And above them the stars shimmered, no longer cold,